Let me read this real quick. As a GM of Method and a long-standing representative of our WoW esports community and teams, I was asked to make a statement by several of our players regarding a few issues at Blizzcon 2019. These feelings and thoughts are my own, and while they're supported and were encouraged by our players, they may not be shared by all who are assigned to a Method organization. I was incredibly concerned and disappointed when WoW esports announced that the AWC/MDI prize pool at BlizzCon was going to be fully funded by fans and no contribution being made by Blizzard themselves. WoW esports competitors have had to deal with earning significantly less than their competitors at BlizzCon for many years, and so it was embraced enthusiastically by the players and fans that when Blizzard announced earlier this year that the $500,000 combined AWC and MDI prize pool would be supplemented by the 25% total sales of the new toys in World of Warcraft, the split would be 12.5% per esport under the WoW esports umbrella. Players and their support teams, whether it be organizations like Method or their families and friends, began actively campaigning in their streams, social channels, that's Twitter by the way, and other means to encourage the sale of these toys. It's impossible to know how many of the 2.6 million toy sales were generated by these players, who thought for the first time that they were going to be able to perhaps have a combined prize pool of close to the $1 million level that has been the standard in other Blizzard esports. For the record, if Blizzard maintained their original $500,000 prize pool and then added the $660,000 from toy sales, WoW esports would indeed have seen a $1.1+ million prize pool. It is my personal hypothesis that this is exactly what caused the backtracking. Blizzard couldn't allow AWC or MDI to have a bigger individual prize pool than Hearthstone Grandmasters, Overwatch Cup, or StarCraft 2. In a 12-month span that featured the agony of cost-cutting and layoffs that rocked the Q4 2018 and Q1 2019, followed by the ecstasy of a record-breaking 2019 Q3 thanks to WoW Classic, Activision perhaps saw a way to cut their cool $500,000 off the BlizzCon budget that would pay out the players in Q4 2019 and preserve the big boy status of its other esports. Axe their contribution to WoW esports prize pool. Regardless of whether my hypothesis is wrong or right, the result was still the same. Trust was violated between Blizzard and the players and community. It was a bait and switch that left many of the players and their management teams reeling in the private WoW esports Discord. Some players immediately took to social media, others chose to keep their head down and focus on practice. This was announced just days before BlizzCon. I want to be clear that I do not think any of the WoW esports team at Blizzard had any say at all in this, and that they were faced with the nauseating task of sharing the prize pool breakdown news with the players and then acting like nothing was wrong to the best of their abilities. Furthermore, they had to face the players in person that same day at the Blizzard HQ for Media Day, and they did it professionally and with as much grace as possible in the face of a lot of outrage and frustration. I can only speculate that cost-cutting from Activision also led to several other disappointments and frustrations for WoW esports competitors at BlizzCon this year. Briefly, this is what happened at BlizzCon here. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. Briefly, facilities for players were severely lacking. Only one day of practice facilities were provided to players before competition commenced Thursday, October 31st. Players were flown in on Sunday, no food was provided except one lunch until Wednesday, and players had to scramble to book PC cafes out of pocket, sometimes traveling up to 30 minutes each way by Uber to ensure that they weren't sharing a cafe with competing teams. These were not set up to be soundproof, for example. Many teams were forced to practice alongside other teams due to the availability. Once the practice facility was open, chairs were uncomfortable, minimal snacks and drinks were provided, and the meal options were non-existent for those with special diets. Time-based breakfast coupons meant that some teams and casters missed that meal entirely if they couldn't show up to their scheduled window to eat. Opening week was deleted. Matches were not streamed. Fans who contributed hundreds of thousands of dollars to support these players could not even watch the opening rounds for the AWC or MDI, which were condensed to one day offline on Thursday, the day before BlizzCon. Teams had to play these rounds surrounded by other teams who were playing and practicing. Organizations rely on their signed partners having visibility during competitions in order to secure sponsorships, and we were left with half of the event being behind closed doors. The opportunity for these players to grow their personal brands by having their matches streamed was cut in half. Don't underestimate the importance here. WoW esports does not pay enough on its own for it to be a full-time job. Most who chose the path of being a pro player in WoW need sponsorship and/or streaming to support themselves. Wow. 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 Well, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. This is the exact kind of stuff that we've been led to expect from Blizzard nowadays. These are the kinds of decisions that we've been expected to deal with. And the soullessness of the corporate entities that are controlling Blizzard and making them cause these decisions are becoming more and more transparent every single day. The fact is that Blizzard, they're pinching pennies and losing dollars. Blizzard has incorporated very, very little sponsorship comparatively to other more traditional esports organizations in order to promote their different events. There are some sponsors for Blizzcon directly, but the sponsors for the AWC and MDI are very few and far between. They don't spend enough time doing that, and at the expense of the players. Blizzard is too afraid to operate in traditional esports modes and different methods and common practices, and they do that at the expense of the players. This has been happening for years now. At this point, it's hard to know if we're ever really going to see a meaningful change. It really is. I don't know. I don't think so, honestly. Let's kill this one first. Yeah, it seems like Blizzard is so... It's a boring-ass esport. Well, the $2.6 million they raised doesn't necessarily say otherwise, but it says that at least some people disagree. Here's the problem. Here's what's stupid about Blizzard. Is Blizzard decided to basically take the $2.6 million, to take all of that money, and basically $2.1 million. And next year around, whenever they put out the toys to crowdfund again, they're going to lose more money than they would have been able to get if they had just put in the $500,000. So it's a very, very simple math equation. So you guys want to do the math? You guys like math? Everybody in here loves math, right? So you have the $2.1 million, right? Because the total price was $2.6 million, so 2.1 is 75% of 2.6. And then they're making a differential of $500,000 to make up for the difference that's not being added. So Blizzard is effectively saving $500,000. So if the loss in price and loss in cost of the different toys exceeds about $700,000, then the amount of money that they would have spent on just putting the money into the prize pool at the beginning to offset the consumer distrust would have actually been better for them. Because they would have made more money in the long run. You see what I'm saying? They're stupid. It was actually a stupid decision. Because less people are going to buy this next time around. And whenever less people buy it, every single person that doesn't buy it, that's 75% of that profit not going to Blizzard again. They're so stupid, they don't even know what they're doing. It's embarrassing, honestly. Let's banish that one. Yeah, I can't believe they made that's such a dumb decision. Wow, esports are shitty to watch with shitty commentary. Here's the problem. It doesn't matter if you think they're shitty to watch or not. It's completely irrelevant. The point is that there is a large dedicated audience of people that want to support WoW esports and have been doing so for 10 years. Those people basically just got fucked. And after you get fucked, the last thing that you want to do is sign up to have it happen again. So that's what that's my concern, okay? At least some people that's the case. I mean, obviously not with everybody. But yeah, for some people that is the case. WoW esports are hard to watch. Yeah, listen, I understand that they're hard to watch, but like you cannot deny the fact that there are a lot of people that like watching them regardless if they're hard to watch. Like, of course, it's not as many people as Overwatch League, right? Because they're not buying, you know, millions of dollars of embedding and boosting up their numbers artificially to make themselves feel better because they're doing something that's a disconnected product that doesn't basically resonate with any of the audience that they're trying to appeal to in a fucking esports thing by associating it with cities whenever esports is fundamentally based around not being part of that. But, you know, whatever. Giant Stalkers Bracers, roll it off. Let's go. Giant Stalking Bracers. Any Giant Stalkers? Loy Hunter with the 75.